before. So whenever I look at a business, I always want to understand this one triage question up front, which is this a business that is supply constrained or is this a business that's demand constrained? So here's the big idea. You can either have too few customers or too little capacity, but never both at the same time. And so how do you know which problem you have? So demand problem means that you have space, but not enough customers. So like a restaurant without empty tables or a calendar with open slots or products sitting on shelves. You built it, but people aren't coming. So a supply problem would be different. It means that you have customers, but not enough capacity. So you have waiting lists, you have to turn people away, or you can't make products fast enough, or you can't take on new clients. They're coming in, but you can't serve them all. And so how do you know which problem you have? And so here's the simple test. If you doubled your ad budget tomorrow, or you doubled your outreach, or you doubled your content, would you be able to double your sales? Or would you just create a mess that you couldn't even handle? So if you create a mess, then you have a supply problem. If it would double your sales, then you have a demand problem. And so the difference between businesses that grow and those that don't isn't just the hard work, but it's working hard on the right problem. And so as Warren Buffett says, there's nothing worse than doing well with something that shouldn't be done at all. So I'm going to give you a number of businesses that are constrained and give you some examples, and then you need to figure out which category you think it's in, supply or demand. So as we dive into these examples, I'm going to give you some obvious ones, and I'm going to give you some that are a little bit trickier. Now, the good news is that even if it's an obvious constraint, it doesn't make the problem any less painful and the solutions any less applicable to your business. Because if you're in a supply constraint or a demand constraint, it absolutely is taking up all your attention, is where all the pain in your life is coming from. And so I'm going to break down the different strategies we can use for different types of businesses that are in each of these situations. So I'm going to give you the first one. So think about a consultant who's completely booked. So full schedule, 3 months ahead, working 60 hours a week, always stressed out. Yet despite all the work, his or her income has stopped growing, right? So what does he do with his little free time? Well, he makes more content, he runs more ads, and he tries to get more leads. He's trying to fix a demand problem that he doesn't have. So the truth of it is, he doesn't have a marketing problem. He has a supply problem that could also be a pricing problem. So which is it? We'll dive in. So you might think, wait, that's crazy. I need more clients to make more money, that consultant might think, and this might be you too. But what if he tries something different? So he has 3 options. So number 1 is he can just raise his prices by a lot. And so most people, when they raise their prices, they're like, I might add. I literally had a phone call earlier today. Someone said they were gonna add a quarter, like 25 cents to their shipping, and they were like holding their breath. I'm like, bro, add $3 and see what happens. Most people are so afraid of raising prices because they're afraid they're going to lose their customers. But if you're in a supply constrained business, it is one of the primary paths to fixing it. So if you're going to do it, raise your prices by a lot. We're talking 50%, 100%. So singles, doubles in terms of how much more you raise your prices. The second thing he could do is create basically change the service to delivery ratio. So instead of having just one-on-one services that are being rendered, he could do one to many or one to small group, right? So he changes how many customers he can take on personally. And the third is that he just hires and trains other consultants, right? So he keeps the ratio the same, but he just adds more headcount to his business. And so there's basically the 3 things that he can do to solve the supply constraint. Now, he might be afraid to raise prices that much, and he might be like, oh my God, I'm losing all my clients. But what's actually going to happen? So let's play it out. So let's say about 30% of his clients leave. But if he doubled his prices and 30% of his clients left, he'd make more money while working with fewer people. And so here's the double benefit of this, is that number 1, he makes more and he services fewer. So he also frees up time. It literally kills 2 birds with 1 stone. He literally makes more money and has more time, which is why if you're in a supply constrained business, pricing was one of the strongest levers that you should consider pulling, and usually a lot more than you think you should. And now here's the secondary, the tertiary benefit of doing that. Now that you have that extra time, you actually have time to create even more capacity. And so if you need to have time to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to increase my service delivery ratio, right? I'm going to figure out what tech I need to do so that I can expand how many people I can take on. Or I'm going to create a training system so that I can bring on new consultants and I can bring them on faster so that they can start taking on clients for me. In either of those situations, the net result would be he'd make more money per hour, and bringing this extra leverage in would multiply that. And so by doing this, he's fixing the real problem, which is supply, not demand. And so he could double his income working 15 fewer hours a week and then double it again after he has brought in more consultants or expanded the ratio. And so the main lesson here is that sometimes the path to growth isn't more clients, it might be better clients. So if you have the opportunity, instead of trying to work harder, appropriately charge what the market is saying they want to pay you, and you're the one getting in the